Lord.
Welcome once again, my brothers and sisters, to another Living Hope Today study. Today we find ourselves in 2 Kings chapter 4, and we see 4 amazing miracles. There's a lot of ways to look at a miracle. You can look at it in terms of the relief that it supplies, whether it's a healing or some sort of other answer to prayer. You can also look at it as God's power on display, and those who yield that power in serving the Lord are basically verified as true followers of God. We're going to see that in Elisha's life today, as he is now carrying the mantle of being the prophet, having been given that authority through his relationship with Elijah and through the Lord himself. So in chapter 4, we read this: "The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, 'Your servant, my husband, is dead.'" So she's not just a wife now, she's a widow. Widows are helpless in the ancient world in many ways. No relief, no Social Security office, nobody to defend them. But the Lord has compassion on the widow. Watch this. "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take my 2 boys as his slaves. So we're in debt, and I'm going to have to sell my sons into slavery to pay the debt." Elisha replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" "Your servant has nothing there at all," she said, "except a little oil." So there is a resource, a little oil. What does the prophet say? "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. And then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to one side." So what do we see here? There's going to be a miraculous production of oil from the little oil you have. You're going to be able to fill up all the jars you collect. So she left him, and afterwards shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another one." But he replied, "There is not a jar left." And then the oil stopped flowing. So as long as there was receptacles, God provided more oil. So assuming she picked up a bunch of jars from her neighbors, she has a lot of oil through the miraculous power of God and through the prophet himself. So she went and told the man of God, and he said, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left." God does an amazing miracle for a widow in the first part of chapter 4. Verse 8, "One day Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman," okay, here's another woman, "was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat." So there's a lady that has a heart for the prophet. She wants to supply him with food as he travels. Okay. She said to her husband, "I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof and put in it a bed and a table and a chair and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us." So now she's not just providing food, but lodging as well. One day when Elisha came, he went up to his room and he lay down there. There he is, taking advantage of the offering that's being presented to him by this Shunammite woman. He said to his servant Gehazi, "Call the Shunammite." So he called her, and she stood before him. Elisha said to him, "Tell her, you have gone to all this trouble for us. Now what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army?" And she replied, "I have a home among my own people." So Gehazi is now introduced as the servant of Elisha, and this woman isn't answering by telling Elisha something she wants done for her in answer to his question. Instead, watch this. What can be done for her, Elijah asked. And Gehazi said, well, she has no son and her husband is old. So the idea appears that maybe she would like to have a son. Again, in the ancient world, this is a very high honor to have children. Then Elisha said, well, call her. So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. About this time next year, Elisha said, you will hold a son in your arms. So this woman apparently is childless, and Elisha is about to ask the Lord to use the power of God to remedy that in her heart, and they're going to have a son. No, my Lord, she objected. Don't mislead your servant, O man of God. What does that mean? That means I don't think that's ever going to happen. We're old. It's too late. Don't worry about us. But the woman became pregnant. And the next year, about that same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her. So what do we see here? Well, the miracle of birth. That would really be the fifth miracle in this chapter now that I think about it. She has a son. Okay. Well, the child grew, and one day he went out to his father, who was with the reapers. My head, he said to his father. His father told a servant, carry him to his mother. So he's got some kind of problem going on, a migraine or worse. After the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. We could preach a sermon right here. God has granted a gift to the Shunammite lady, and what happens? That gift gets ruined. The happiness and joy of childbirth, having a son, is now replaced by the premature death of the son. Does God care? Is there anything here? Watch this. She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, then shut the door, and she went out. She called her husband and said, please send me one of the servants on a donkey so I can go to the man of God quickly and return. Notice she's not wailing, she's not crying, she's not screaming at her husband for help. She's giving her own remedy by going to the man of God. Why go to him today, he asked. It's not the new moon or the Sabbath. It's all right, she said. She's not even going to tell her husband that her son has died. She saddled the donkey and said to her servant, lead on. Don't slow down for me unless I tell you. So she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. When he saw her in the distance, the man of God said to the servant Gehazi, look, there's the Shunammite. Run to meet her and ask her, are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your child all right? Everything is all right, she said. Notice that. Wouldn't you call that a lie? Well, she's not going to pour her heart out to Gehazi. She's going to go right to Elisha the prophet. When she reached the man of God, that's Elisha, at the mountain, she took hold of his feet. Gehazi came over to push her away, but the man of God said, leave her alone. She is in bitter distress, but the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me why. So Elisha doesn't really know what's wrong yet, but this woman is at his feet holding on to him. Did I ask you for a son, my Lord? She said. Wow, what a poignant question. Hey, prophet, you wanted to bless me with a son, and I was overjoyed to have him. It wasn't my idea to make that happen. You did that. You called upon God to give that to me, and now I have it, but didn't I tell you don't raise my hopes? Now my heart's broken. My son's dead. Elisha said to Gehazi, tuck your cloak into your belt. Take my staff in your hand and run. If you meet anyone, do not greet him. And if anyone greets you, do not answer. Lay my staff on the boy's face. So notice that Elisha doesn't say, well, everybody dies. I guess it's just God's will. No, Elisha is going to address this lady's pain through action and the power of the Lord. So he says, lay my staff on the boy's face to his servant Gehazi. But the child's mother said, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. I understand you're the man of God. I understand you're the one that the Lord uses and exercises his power through. I'm staying with you. We've fed you. We've given you a place to stay. You've blessed us with a son. Okay. You're the one. I'm not leaving. Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. So Gehazi went back to meet Elisha and told him the boy has not awakened. Again, another perfect opportunity to say, gee, I'm really sorry, Shunammite, but it's just not going to work out. Everybody has to die. But Elisha's not going to stop there. He's willing to continue in the process. When Elisha reached the house, there was the boy lying dead on his couch. He went in, he shut the door on the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. There it is. How do you address this? Well, Elisha knows he doesn't have power. He knows God has power. So what does he do? He prays. And as the Spirit leads him, what does he do? He takes action. Then he got on the bed. He lay upon the boy, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands. He stretched himself out upon him, and the boy's body grew warm. Elisha turned away and walked back and forth in the room, and then got on the bed and stretched out upon him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Wow, so here we have the dead son of the Shunammite now revived through God's power in the man Elisha. All right, Elisha summoned Gehazi and said, call the Shunammite, and he did. When she came, he said, take your son. Wow. She came in, fell at his feet, bowed to the ground. Then she took her son and went out. Imagine the joy she experiences as she sees her son alive again. So, tremendous miracle. Elisha returned to Gilgal, and there was a famine in that region. Notice here the text takes us right to another emergency, another huge problem. While the company of the prophets was meeting with him, he said to his servant, put on the large pot and cook some stew for these men. All right, so there's a famine, but we do have resource. We're going to feed them. One of them went out into the fields to gather herbs and found a wild vine. He gathered some of its gourds and filled the fold of his cloak. When he returned, he cut them up into the pot of stew, though no one knew what they were. So we have some wild elements going into the stew. The stew was poured out for the men, but as they began to eat it, they cried out, O man of God, there is death in the pot. This is inedible. We're afraid to eat this. It's going to kill us. They could not eat it. So Elijah said, get some flour. He put it into the pot and said, serve it to the people to eat. And there was nothing harmful in the pot. Again, what do we see? The power of God exercised through the prophet Elisha on behalf of people that are in trouble. Here in verse 41, the death in the pot is reversed through the prophet. 42, a man came from Baal Shalisha, bringing the man of God 20 loaves of barley bread, baked from the first ripe grain, along with some heads of the new grain. Give it to the people to eat, Elisha said. Well, listen to the response. How can I set this before 100 men? So he doesn't have enough food to feed the 100 people that are there. Well, give it to the people to eat, for this is what the Lord says, they will eat and have some left over. Does this remind you of any New Testament miracle where a number of people are going to eat based on a limited amount of resource? I think Jesus fed 5,000 men one time and 4,000 men another time, plus women and children. Jesus fed thousands of people with very little resource. Now we see the same kind of miracle happening through the prophet Elijah. Why? Because it says this, then he set it before them, and they ate and had some left over, according to the word of the Lord. So God is showing that he has his power upon the prophet Elisha. There we go. And he's showing his power and his compassion. For the widow, for the woman who was childless, she has the son, she loses the son, God restores the son. The stew is made edible. The bread doesn't run out as it feeds more than it should. God is good, and he is willing to work through those who serve him. I pray you serve him well today, church. God bless you.
Who is it? Who is it? Who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood. For it's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.